Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Mia here. Today's video is going to be my wrap up for the month of October and also my TBR for the month of November. Now for the month of October, I am still pretty much in a slump. Like, I don't know, I just can't get motivated enough to pick up books and read, and the fact that I've been sick and not feeling very well just didn't help at all. I was sleeping a lot, and it's been one of those months when it comes to my reading. So I did manage to read some things, just nothing major, but I still did read throughout the month. First, I read a short story by Stephen King, and is one of the 4 Past Midnight stories. I read the third story, which is called The Library Policeman, and I really did enjoy it. This book has been, so far, 2 stories that I enjoyed a lot and one that I didn't like too much. I won't go into too many details about that story because I do plan on doing a book review of this book once I'm completely done with it, where I'll talk a little bit about each of the 4 stories in this book, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what I thought of each of those 4 stories once I'm done reading the whole thing. But pretty much it's about a monster of sorts, and it's kind of confusing to explain just because the monster sometimes is described as a ghost, other times as a monster, so it's just a little bit confusing. But pretty much it just involved this man and a library and a monster, and if you don't return your books on time, you get in big trouble. But it's just much more than that. It was really enjoyable. It was about almost 250 or a little bit over 250 pages, so it wasn't extremely long, but it wasn't extremely short either, and I really did enjoy it. So like I said, I'll tell you more about that particular story once I can really just gather all my thoughts. I just recently finished it, so I haven't really been able to put all my thoughts together enough to explain to you what the story was about, but I will once I finish reading the last story in this book, and I'll do a whole book review. But this particular story I gave like 4 stars. Around 4 stars, I would say, is my rating for that one particular story. I also finished reading during the month of October Redder Than Blood, and this is by Tenet Lee. This is another collection of short stories. This has a lot more short stories though. I don't remember how many, but it does have a lot of short stories, and they're influenced by fairy tales, but they are much darker. I really enjoyed this short story. I think it was a great introduction to this author's work, and it got me intrigued to pick up more from this author and just get more familiarized with the writing, because I really did enjoy this collection. I think I gave it 4 stars. Overall, it's a very beautiful collection. It is really dark, so it does involve a lot of sensitive topics such as rape and abuse and all that stuff, but I thought the stories were very well written. They were all a little bit different, and he is influenced, I don't know if it's a she or a he honestly, but the author is influenced by different kinds of fairy tales such as Cinderella, The Beauty and the Beast, Snow White, there's a few, Rumpelstiltskin. Like, it has a bunch of different inspired stories from fairy tales, so it's still magical and it's still kind of fairy tale-y, but much darker. And some of the stories also gave me a feel of magical realism as well. Very interesting, very good. I do want to do a book review of this before I have to turn it back into my library, so hopefully I can kind of organize my thoughts and give you a good book review where I talk about each of the stories that are involved in this book. But I really liked it, and I really recommend it. It was a perfect read for the month of October. I also read during October 3 comic books. I'll tell you a little bit about each of them. This one here I won't talk too much about because I just uploaded a review for it where I discuss it a little bit more, but it was a pretty interesting comic. It's a volume 1 and it's called The Beauty. This is by Jeremy Hahn, Jason A. Hurley, and John Rauch, and I ended up giving this book 3 stars out of 5. but it was enjoyable. It was just not perfect, but it was really enjoyable. I loved the artwork. That's one of the things that really caught my attention from this particular comic, and I liked the idea of the subject. So pretty much this comic is surrounding a new sexually transmitted disease that is a little bit different from most. It pretty much makes you absolutely beautiful. So it clears all of your flaws and it makes you look younger, and it's just something that a lot of people are interested in getting. And there are a couple of detectives that are trying to solve a new mystery related to this particular disease. And like I said, I talk a little bit more about it on my review, which I'll link somewhere in the video for you to watch if you're interested. I also finally picked up Saga Volume 7, and this is by Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan, and I just absolutely love this entire series. I'm a huge fan of the Saga comic books, and this was not disappointing. I really did like it. I enjoyed it a lot. I won't be able to tell you much about this because it's the 7th volume, so if I do, I would definitely spoil you on the previous 6 volumes. But I'm sure you have heard at some point about this particular comic because it has been pretty popular in BookTube. Pretty much it follows these two characters who are from different planets. Pretty much she is from a planet and he is from that planet's moon. However, these two civilizations have been at war with each other for many years, and their war has spread throughout the entire galaxies and the universe, and it's everywhere pretty much. And these two races, of course, they don't get along, and there's never been a situation where two of these people have joined forces or falling in love until these two particular characters. They don't just fall in love, they also end up having a baby together, which is unheard of. It is considered one of the worst things possible. So you have both governments chasing them and trying to kill them and capture their baby. And the whole story is narrated by that child. So it's very interesting. I really enjoy this comic series, and I'll definitely be continuing. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Another comic book that I picked up this month is Rat Queens Volume 1, and this is by Curtis J. Wiebe and Rock Upchurch. I'm sorry if I'm completely killing your name. And volume 1 is called Sass and Sorcery. And I've been wanting to pick this up for a long time because, again, it's one of those comics that really just blew up in the BookTube community and it caught my attention. But for some reason, I just hadn't picked it up. I kind of forgot I had it. And finally, I got into it and I read it and I really absolutely loved it. I loved the storyline. I loved the friendship between these characters and how weird they are and how different they are from one another. I loved their little quarrels and I loved the artwork. I really enjoyed it. I won't talk too much about this one either in the wrap-up because I do plan on doing a comic review for this comic. But pretty much it just follows this 4 magical friends and their adventures. They're kind of troublemakers and they are really tough girls. They're all very different. I loved how their individual personalities was represented. You really do get to kind of pick and choose parts or your favorites because they're so different. And I haven't read a comic book where the characters are so explored as this one. I mean, they're not necessarily very explored or talked about, but it's just their personalities is what I really did enjoy, how different from one another they are. And they're so mischievous. I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. So it's just pretty much the adventures of these 4 friends. Definitely planning on continuing with this series. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. And last but not least, I also read Mother Goose Stories by Gil Fuyikawa, and I love this. This was actually a gift. My sister-in-law got this for me and for Isabella, my baby, to arrive soon. And anyways, I read it and I absolutely adored it. I have read before some Mother Goose stories, but I just loved the way this particular book is. It's a beautiful children's book. It's got such gorgeous illustrations throughout, and the pages are divided in colored and black and white. So you will have, for example, the first stories in colored, and the next page will be pretty much black and white. So it just keeps on rotating in that way. The stories and songs and games are just so fun and beautiful. I just can't wait to read this to my baby. I absolutely loved this book. It's a wonderful children's book. I really enjoyed it. And I'm not sure if you guys would be interested in kids books reviews, but that's something that I could do if that's something that you're interested in. This is definitely recommended. I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So those are all the things that I read during the month of October. Like I said, it was not a great month for my reading. I really don't consider this to be a lot of reading. I read mainly just comics and kids books and short stories. I didn't really read any actual novel or big book, but that's okay. I still managed to do some reading. So for the month of November, when it comes to the TBR, is going to be a very short TBR. The reason for that is because since I am in such a reading slump, I don't want to force myself to attempt to read books if I don't get into them. I really just want to pick randomly, and hopefully that will help me actually do more reading. So there's only 2 books that I really do want to finish reading during the month of November. Anything else that I would read would just be based on just random picks throughout the month. I don't really want to stress out too much about it. Now, I do want to participate in the nonfiction November readathon or activity that's going on. I will link down below Olive's video where she does her announcement, and she has a lot of great recommendations for you guys to see if you're interested. However, I'm going to participate in the minimum kind of way because I'm not really going to do the 4 challenges that they have, because I don't want to feel too pressured or too forced to read that much during the month. I feel like I will fail if I do that. So there's only 1 book that I really do want to read that is nonfiction, and I want to pick it up. I might pick up more nonfictions throughout the month. Like I said, it's just going to be based on how I feel throughout the month. But this particular one I really do want to get to, and this is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Caitlin Doughty. And I've just been really interested in this particular book. Hope to read it soon. Don't know too much about it. All I know is that she's talking about her experiences working in a crematory and things that she's learned and so on and so on, her perspective on death and all that kind of stuff. So it looks good, looks interesting. It's one of the books that I wanted to finish reading before the end of the year, so hopefully I do finish it this month. And the other book that I want to concentrate and hopefully finish reading this month is It by Stephen King. I've been trying to read this for a few months now, and I am enjoying it. I do enjoy what I have read so far. However, I just don't see myself picking it up as often as I should. So I think that what I'm doing is I'm getting distracted with the other books that I want to read, and I feel like this is such a big book that I'm not gonna make it, so I prioritize all the other books. So that's why this month I'm just going to concentrate on this one and the previous book I mentioned, and just make sure I finish this too. And anything else that I read during the month, if I do manage to read something else, is going to be completely just a spur of the moment kind of pick. So this is what I'm planning to do for the month of November. I apologize for the horrible lighting. The sun is literally just like burning my face off right now, so I'm gonna cut this video short. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and give me some thumbs up, and if you would like to see more videos, go ahead and subscribe down below, and I will see you in next video. Bye bye.